Good afternoon, one and all, present here for this webinar. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for providing me an opportunity to talk with you all. Today, I am going to talk about technology adoption for librarianship, and the agenda for the talk is I'll introduce to the topic technology adoption for librarianship and the various services we provide in libraries which can be adopted through technology, such as communication to our users using social networking and social media, and technology adoption for library automation, digital content creation, management, and access. I will also talk about the technologies which are available for e-learning, training, and education, publishing, infographics, and reference management. And I would also talk about technology-based library services. One particular service which is very close to my heart is alerting services for researchers using RSS feeds. So this is the rough agenda for my talk today. Uh, we all would have gone to bank at different parts of our time. Some 10 years back, if you would have gone to a bank, the situation will be like on the left hand side of my presentation, the image. You can see a lot of people waiting on a queue for a simple task like updating their passbook or payment through checks or withdraw cash from cash counter of bank, and sometimes we need to go to 2 to 3 counters in a bank to complete our work. But now now what is happening is like after adoption of lot of technology in banking sector, now with the help of mobile banking, internet banking, we are able to do almost all tasks which we used to go to physically to the bank and do, and a lot more simplification of withdrawing cash. We are using ATMs, and we are using Paytm or UPI based interface to pay even for smaller amounts like even 10 rupees or 20 rupees. We are able to pay to our vendors with just a simple click of button. This all happened because the banking sector has embraced the technology as much as possible to provide services to the customers, because the customers are ever increasing and the employees numbers are going down. So they have adopted the technology to provide services to their users effectively. Likewise, prior to this COVID situation, we used to gather in large numbers for conferences, seminars, workshops. Physically, we used to travel long distance and reach places and stay there for 2 to 3 days to listen to the speakers. And now, during this situation, this COVID situation, the adoption of webinars and video conferencing have grown enormously, and within last 2.5 months we are able to adopt new technology very easily, and we are able to run a lot of webinars, video conferences, meeting with people, talking with people. The technology has enabled us to network with our friends, families, with friends and families, even though we are not able to travel and physically meet people, we are virtually interacting and enriching our knowledge. So technology adoption pays well. So traditionally speaking, libraries are powerhouses of information, mostly print information, and most of our services in the library was around print knowledge and print information. But during the rapid transition happening during the last 20 to 25 years, a lot of new technologies are emerging, and lot more print information and resources are moving online. For example, the journals, indexing and abstracting services, most of the indexing and abstracting services are online only available. For example, the chemical abstracting service, which used to come as a weekly for a print medium, and then it went on to become a, CD medium, and now it's only available online. And it's very easy to access those electronic resources than seeing a chemical abstract physically, which used to have a large collection of physical records. And another one example is Encyclopedia Britannica, we used to buy as volumes. Now it no longer available on print medium. It's available only on online only medium. And many of the journals are fast becoming online only journals, and there is no print equivalent to it. It's only available online. For example, Public Library of Science, and the new age researchers and users are reading and more born digital documents than a printed document. And people are relying more on mobiles and apps, where a lot of information are getting into their palm, rather than going to a library, read a magazine or journal. So the access to information has become very easy for users. They can virtually do any kind of research using these online resources and access. There used to be like some 20 years back, people used to come to library for journal issues, printed issues, and the journals, when they print in UK or US, it has to reach India maybe within of 3 months time, or even it takes sometimes 6 months time to reach India. But nowadays, due to this online publishing of journals, as and when a journal is published in US or UK, it can be accessible by our researchers and our users. Even magazines also same case. Whenever a new post is happening in a US or UK, immediately it is accessed by our people. So the technology in India, especially after this internet and mobile, it has grown a lot, and many common people are able to use this easily available technology for communicating and enriching themselves. So, libraries, as librarians, this is the time for change, and we also need to adopt a lot of new technology to sustain our services, our library services to our library patrons and users. And general perception of libraries is the new technologies are not adopted as quickly as like other sectors. As I said, banking or any other sectors, libraries are very slow in adopting new technologies. And we all know that new generation users are very aggressive. They are way different from the old users who can wait for getting information or a printed book. They can wait for a week or so. But the new age users, they don't have time to wait to get an information or resource from the library. They want everything instant. So we also need to adopt new technologies to serve our users better and faster. And we need to think quick enough to provide services to our users as early as possible. And adoption of new technologies simplifies our library operations as well, and it simplifies lot of our work which we physically used to do. And it's really good for us to provide the information as and when it is published, like e-journals, e-resources. As and when it is published, people are able to access it. The we can't outright say that all the libraries are lagging behind. There are new age librarians who are ready to learn quickly things and implement a lot of technology in their libraries. And there is also a great barrier between the libraries in the larger cities or well-funded libraries are able to adopt the technology very faster and quicker to provide service to their users. And the libraries in the rural areas and the not well-funded institutions are lagging behind. So my talk here will be like technology can be adopted without spending much of money. Only human capital and intellectual librarian is needed to provide innovative services to users without keeping money or funding in mind. And to say there is nothing permanent except change, that by Heraclitus. And we all know that in this world nothing is permanent, everything keep on changing, and even technology keep on changing. But we have to adopt new technologies and keep up with our users and their requirements. So, adopting technology, where to start with? So, what kind of technology we can adopt in a library which is not well funded, but the librarian is very enthusiastic to provide services to his users without spending much money and sitting in a remote rural area or a bigger college library. The first and foremost thing in library is the communication. We need to communicate to our users, build a bonding between users, so that the users are aware the kind of services provided by the libraries. So social media and social networking became a bigger areas of communication technology, where instantly person to person can be communicated without any time delay. Otherwise, in libraries we used to have notice boards where we used to put notices about our services, and or in our institution we used to have 10 or 15 notice boards, put the information so that people or user can see that information, can come to the library. But now that is not the case. We have the social media where instantly our users can access what's happening in the library. So we can use different social media like Twitter, Facebook, to communicate with our users. Even WhatsApp is used. I have seen many WhatsApp groups are created by users, by libraries for their users, and provide instant information about what's new, what's available in the library, what are the new resources acquired by the library. This helps users to know that a lot of new things are happening in the library. So I'll talk about that. And then adoption of technology for library automation. As I said earlier, digital content creation, management and access, e-learning, training and education, publishing, infographics, reference management, and technology-enabled services. To start with social media and communication. So, social media platforms are very powerful and very useful for promoting books and our library collections to our users, and also get instant feedback from our users which are the books or which are the collections which are useful for them, and those collections which are not useful, we can try to withdraw it, or we can acquire a lot of books which are of more interest of our users. And we can provide instant alert to user. As I said earlier, we can provide instant alerts regarding anything, any activity that is happening in the library using WhatsApp and Twitter. Twitter is more effective. It reaches the global users, and we can say that our library is providing such and such services to our users. And social networking, especially Facebook, we can have communication and network with our own faculty members for feedback, or highlighting our services to our faculty members and other libraries for resource sharing. And we can use YouTube for learning videos. There are thousands of learning videos, lectures, notes are available on YouTube. So we can use YouTube as one of the tools to provide services to our users, or at least guide our users to important resources which are already available on YouTube. And we can outreach our activities and events and all other important development in the libraries using these all social media tools. And social media is very powerful now. I think every other person in India are using either WhatsApp or Facebook or Twitter. in the mean, so we are able to directly reach our users without any hurdles. And the library automation, how technology can be implemented in library automation. Let us assume a library which is not automated till now, and the librarian is more enthused to automate the library to become more efficient in providing library services, but he don't have a software to do that. And now the open source software community has developed a lot of software tools and technologies available which are free of cost. And if a library has one system, a computer with a decent hardware, and a librarian, if he is interested, he can implement any kind of library automation. In a single day he can start operations of library automation. And there are a lot of library packages, software packages available which are free and open. One such software is Koha. Koha is an integrated library management system which is open source, and which was developed some 20 years ago. And it's one of the most advanced library automation software which is presently available in the market, and it's free of cost. And any large library, they want to implement such software, if they have one single high-end configuration computer system, we can install it within a few hours, and we can configure it in a day, and the next day onwards we can start using it for data migration, or issuing the book, returning the book. uh, Anything can be possible with the availability of single system. And if library is good enough to network and have lot of systems, we can arrange OPAC, and different modules of library automation can also be used, like acquisition, cataloging, circulation, serial, OPAC. Everything is possible with open source software. And the technology, the only thing is, the librarian should have an interest to implement and adopt the new technology, so that the previously held card catalogs or the registers, which takes a lot of time to search and retrieve any information that is stored in the registers and catalogs. So the automation can bring in lot of efficiency in library, and which brings in lot of transparency also. And the available OPAC helps in identifying, discovering various resources available in the library. So I request our librarians to think of automating your library as early as possible, as much as possible. This is the starting point, because library automation is the bread and butter of our library operations. If a library is not capable enough to implement Koha kind of complicated software, they can go into a smaller software. What they need is kind of OpenBiblio. There is a software called OpenBiblio, which is available in sourceforge.net. This is also open source software, but this can be used for smaller libraries where the main aim of the library is providing cataloging the books and issue and return of the book. These two functions of library can be easily achieved using this open source tool. And this is more simpler and very easy to install. And this can run on even Windows, and installation hardly takes 1 hour. And the straight away we can start data entry and add our patrons and start circulation as well. And such kind of tools are available. And and the librarian can be trained within a day to do all the operations. And content management and access, this is one important area of embracing new technology into libraries. And as I said earlier, a lot of new resources are only coming through online information, and they are not available in a print medium. And for example, the libraries provides two important content for its users. One type of content is the external resources. For example, we subscribe lot of resources for our library users, and we purchase lot of information, lot of books, periodicals, and there are lot of external information available, like which will be very much useful for you, our users. We need to guide those information to our users in an effective, organized way, so that our users will be able to access those information. For example, the external resources which are free, like National Digital Library of India, which has millions of books, e-books, and documents for our users. Anybody have an internet connection will be able to access National Digital Library of India's content. And likewise, there is a e-Shodh Ganga for thesis and dissertation. Whatever thesis is published in India is all archived in e-Shodh Ganga. And we have this DOAJ, Directory of Open Access Journals, which provides access to more than 10,000 journals which are open. The open mean it's free of cost, and our users will be able to access all those journals and their content in DOAJ itself. And there is DOAB, Directory of Open Access Books. Lot of ebooks are available at free of cost. And archive.org is one of the biggest preprint collection in the world, where more than 30 million articles are available, which are published in subject areas like physical sciences, computer science, and mathematics. And bioarchive.org is one new archive which has come up just some 3 to 4 years back. Provides access to all biology related information and chemical information. And there is Project Euclid, which is an initiative where a lot of mathematical journals are available at free of cost. So we know that there are a lot of resources like Internet Archive, where hundreds of resources are archived. There are a lot of resources which are available free of cost, but our users are not aware of such sites, or the users are not aware of such sites available. So it's the responsibility of the librarians to provide access to those information to our users without delay. So these are all external resources which we are bringing from outside and providing access to our users. And there is a big internal resources, and this is also librarians responsibility, like your own institution's content. Provide access to your own institution content, not only print medium, also on electronic medium. So how an internal resource which was never published outside your institution can be converted to digital information, and provide access to a lot more users who can benefit out of our internal resources. Some of the internal resources like preprint articles of journals, and in-house publications like magazines, in-house journals, department journals, and historical records, whichever is available about your institution, and archival photograph, videos, yeah, institutions' thesis and dissertations, your post-graduation thesis and dissertations, or undergraduate thesis, or the model question papers, all can be digitized and put it into an archive. So how we can digitize it? Like, we should have a scanner, and we can scan it, and simply putting into a system may not work well. We need to have a system. Where any external user or internal user can log in, see what are the resources are available. So one such software is Drupal. The content management systems help us in managing or archiving our archival material, which are our internal sources, as well as indexing the external sources and provide access to our users. There are a lot of content management systems which are available. Again, free and open source software such as Drupal, Joomla, WordPress. These are all very commonly used and widely popular among online users. And there are a lot of web content management systems are available. These web content management systems needs one-time installation onto your server, and later nobody needs any technical information. They can right away open the text boxes and put their content very easily. Nobody needs, the librarian doesn't need any too technical skills to run such kind of content management system, which can be developed as your library website. And these content management system provides a lot of colorful templates. We can choose among them, and it has the capability of access control. Easily we can edit the content, upload a lot of material, our own material, and we can implement a workflow management for the approval process. We can collaborate with different people for correcting the data or metadata, and we can delegate the document to different user groups. And we can and also these content management systems are multilingual capable, and we can bring in lot of local language information to it. And also, if one don't need a content management system and he wants to implement a more advanced software like DSpace, which is a digital library software which provides far more better capability than a simple content management system. The purpose is different. The digital library software are used to archival material and long-term preservation of an institution's publications. And we can install even DSpace. DSpace is a open source software and developed by MIT University in collaboration with HP Labs in the year 2002. And it has become a mature software, and one can install and implement very easily in a library environment. And we can provide access to all our digital content through DSpace software. Many libraries around the world and even in India, there are hundreds of libraries which are using DSpace as a digital archiving tool for their institutions' uh, internal content. That's what they called as institutional repositories or digital library. And this particular software has a lot of features, like we can search and retrieve any information, and even full text indexing of that particular document is also available. And it has in interface in about 22 languages, and it has all record tools and services to provide easy access to our electronic resources. And the librarians, I request the librarians to try to use this kind of tools to provide your internal content to the external users. That's very much important, where many of our internal content are lying just in the library shelf, which has access to only internal users. When you put these documents online, a lot of outside users can access it and gain benefit out of it. And federated search tools. There are several federated search tools, like for example, when you say, like, you have a library automation software where all library resources are cataloged. You have a content management system where a lot of external information is stored. For example, what I said is like NDLI or eShotGanga. All those data are entered into a content management system, and all your internal resources like preprints, your journal articles, all are indexed in DSpace. So you have two to three different systems which are implemented across your library. And somebody wants to search all these repository in one single place, then that is possible using this federated search. And we have one open source tool called VuFind, which helps us in making federated search possible, and it periodically harvests records from library automation software, digital library software, a content management software, and all the archived records are stored in single place and that can be accessed for search. So this saves the time of our user. He need not individually go into all the three different tools to search and get the data, and all the data is available in one single place, and we can implement such kind of federated search in our libraries to help our users to access the resources what we have, even free resources as well as the subscribed resources, all can go through in one single point to access the information. This helps the users to get the information on their desktop with one single search instead of searching several places. Uh, then coming to e-learning. So now again the situation at present is very grim, and people are not able to stepping out to colleges or schools or wherever they learn, and the e-learning and online learning becomes very handy in such kind of situation. Not only such kind of situation, and there are a lot of resources and e-learning services are available around the world where one want to master in a particular subject or subject area, and he without crossing border the person is able to learn what he intended to learn. For example, Indian government, the MHRD initiative of Swayam. Swayam is an e-learning portal where hundreds of courses are available for anybody to undergo e-learning course. Like it's all very systematic, orderly e-learning capability tools where one has to enroll himself to a course, and he will receive the course materials online, and the chapter wise teaching by the experts is possible through video as well as interactive sessions, and the and even a reader can attend an exam and gain certificate with a very nominal fee in Swayam. So somebody who wants to learn something which is not taught in a college or school, and he can directly enroll into such systems, e-learning systems, and he can gain knowledge, and he can even get a certificate which is certified by Government of India. But many of our users or students, they don't know that such kind of facilities are available in India, and it's our responsibility as a librarian to bring in notices, to bring notice of our students to see that like they are able to access these resources and gain knowledge, and can do more different things faster. Likewise, there is one more initiative by our InfluMnet is EPG Pathshala. The Swayam is for everybody. It's a kind of e-learning course for anyone at any age group can join and attend, learn. But this EPG Pathshala is one initiative where the content and the design of the e-learning course is exactly replica of our PG courses. And all our PG courses, the subjects are indexed there, and lot of learning materials are given there. So anybody who wants to supplement the classroom learning, they can always go into EPG Pathsala. And there is Vidya Mitra, one more initiative by MHRD, where any e-learning content developed by MHRD will be posted here. And this can be reused for any kind of classroom learning. Any user can learn, go there and download that resource, and even that can be uploaded in our own local e-learning portals. And there is an international initiative like MIT Open Courseware, which is very popular, which is one of the oldest open e-learning system, where hundreds of courses taught by MIT University are available online, and the lectures can be accessible even through YouTube and different channels. And these kind of e-learning initiatives are very popular among students nowadays. And because of long holidays and long long lockdown situation, many of our students are able to log in into these e-learning systems, and they are able to enrich their knowledge. And libraries have to promote such kind of e-learning initiatives. Uh, so this will help in changing the face of libraries as well as the librarian, and we gain more respect by guiding our users to these kind of e-learning courses. And also, if any institution which is interested to implement their own e-learning system, and there is again an open source software called Moodle, which is an e-learning software. Instead of going to Swayam or somewhere, if your own faculty members want to teach online, supplement their classroom teaching, they can very well do using Moodle, and libraries can take a lead in implementing a Moodle e-learning system in the library, so that the whole institution can get benefited because of these tools. Moodle is again named as Modular Object Oriented Dynamic Learning Environment. It's a free open source which is written in PHP code and distributed as a GNU license. And it is developed based on the pedagogical principles. Moodle is blended with learning, distance learning, flipped classroom, and other e-learning projects of schools, universities, and other sector. This has lot of features. Hundreds of plugins are available, where starting from enrolling the students to an e-learning course, and teaching the courses using the streaming videos or chat, online chat or webinars, and then giving assignments to the students, mark scoring, and online exams can be conducted using Moodle, and then even certificate can be generated based on the scores. So it's a very highly automated system, and can be this also can be implemented like our library automation system very easily by the librarians. So librarians has to adopt such kind of technology to outreach our students and faculty members to use these kind of facilities. And one more area of responsibility for librarians is digital publishing. As I said, we have to bring in all external resources to our users, as well as take our internal resources to be visible around the world. There are a lot of publishing tools available, like content management system, and also there are formal tools which helps in publishing formally. Like uh, there is a system called Open Journal System. It's again a open source software where end-to-end management of a journal is possible. Like if you want to provide access to your journal, paid or free, and the starting process of peer review till ending process and publishing or print is also possible using open journal system. This is a very well developed software by Public Knowledge Project of University of British Columbia. This software tool is very effective in managing the e-journals which are published by an institution. If your institution is publishing a journal and they wanted to convert it into an e-journal, and this is the software you have to look at, and which precisely has all other utilities, and it is compliant to various standards, and also it provides a facility to index in different indexing systems like Google Scholar, PubMed Central, and it provides counter compliance statistics to all other users. And if any institution is running an in-house journals or magazines, I recommend you to implement open journal system to have a better visibility of your information. And also there is one more tool called Open Conference System. Many of us organize conferences, and we know there are a lot of issues from the day when we start announcing the conference, and then organizing to bring in the speakers and to invite the invited talks and invite papers and peer review that papers and final copy proofreading. All these can be integrated into one system where all email communications or any other communication can be converted into a software and can be stored, and at last we can even publish the volume using this open conference system. This is also developed by Public Knowledge Project of University of British Columbia, and we can as a librarian we can initiate these kind of information, and we can provide such information to our faculty members, saying like such kind of software tools are available which can help and make streamline your conferences very easily. So it's our responsibility to inform them to gain confidence on the libraries as well. And even we have ebook management software called Caliber. Caliber is a, suite of tools where we have a lot of ebooks, a lot of printed books which are owned by our institution, and we need to provide access to our users, and we can convert this into any standard ebook format like EPUB format, and we can host it in our library. And this is also very easy to install, and it takes hardly 5 to 10 minutes to install this tool in a library environment. Okay, and then one more important area is communicating to our users. Definitely, any initiative which you do, when you write some paragraphs, some 2 to 3 paragraphs, it doesn't attract people as much as like a visually appealing a poster kind of thing. Like generally, when people hear information or read information, they don't remember. Maybe after 3 days they don't remember at all, and in case of when they see a visually appealing posters or visuals, it keeps repeated in their mind, and they are able to recall it even after some time. So it's better to convey our information through posters or some catchy colorful posters which will help us to attract our user to see and read what we are trying to say. So to make such colorful infographic posters, we can adopt some tools which help in attracting our users to our library. There are a lot of tools like Pictochart.com, Adobe Spark, Visme, Canva, Visually, Easily, all are available, and many of them are free of cost, and some are chargeable with a little money. They don't charge much actually, but this Adobe Spark and Pictochart all are free, and we can reuse many times to create attractive infographics and posters which will attract our students. Even we can help our students or faculty members to create posters for their own events or publications or even their conferences. So in this way we can help our users to access these kind of online resources available. And one more important area of interest of our libraries is the reference management tools. And we all know that our users find it very difficult to manage their references, especially those students or faculty members who do research. And from the day one of research, they start collecting various resources, documents for their reading purpose, and lot of those documents they don't keep track of, and at last when they write thesis they are not able to cite from where they have taken those resources or information. So it has become very difficult for them to manage all the references. So as a librarian, if we can train and teach our students and faculty members how we can manage the references using reference management tools, there are a lot of tools are available which are free of cost and open source. As a librarian, we need to engage our students and faculty members and train them early when they start their research, maybe the first year of their research, if we can provide some kind of training programs to our users on these reference management tools, it will be very much helpful for them to organize all their references and write thesis uh, easily. And there are, for example, Zotero is one such tool which is available free of cost, and it can run on Windows as well as any other operating system. And there is Mendeley is another reference management system. And these reference management tools are not only organizes references, it can create different styles of citations. It can even host the papers which you have downloaded for reference. And many of these reference management tools are providing annotations and different types of capabilities which helps our researchers to organize their data effectively. So these are all different ways where we can adopt a new technology to our library and library users to provide services. And this will help us in managing libraries better, and also will gain more respect among our users. And at last, I would like to talk about technology-based services. And one, as I said earlier, one such service which is very close to my heart is alerting services using RSS feeds. So I'll tell you what is RSS feed a bit later. Here I will talk about the traditional alerting services, what libraries already providing, and what is a real-time alerting service, and how RSS XML based services can effectively provide instant alert to our users. So, for example, traditional alerting services for researchers. Traditionally, libraries provide a lot of alerting services like current awareness service, selective dissemination of information, abstracting service, table of content service, current content. So, as and when a new journal comes, library scans the table of content of that journal and put it on notice board. These all we used to do some time back. And also selective dissemination of information, like we used to note what are the interest area of our users, and then whenever those articles or any information comes, we provide those information to that particular user. We used to do that physically by photocopying or emailing the information to our users. And libraries have spent a lot of money and invested a lot of human resources for this purpose. And real-time alerting service. So libraries around the world provide various alerting services based on internet technology. There are several technologies are available as and when an information is published somewhere in the world, can be accessed very easily by as using internet and online. So one such technology is RSS, which is a XML based technology. So the expansion for RSS is rich site summary or really simple syndication. So this is the expansion for RSS. So what this technology does, for example, if as a librarian or a user or a researcher, every day when we get into our workplace, we used to see a certain set of websites to update our knowledge. For example, maybe a librarian, we will go into the news site to see what's happening around the world today, and we will visit some other journal site to see any new article is published, or we will go to Google to search for some important news. So every day we used to visit some 10 to 15 sites, websites regularly, and we have to go each and every site physically using Internet Explorer or Chrome. Each site, go there and see whether any new information is updated. sometimes there will not be any new information, maybe only old information will be there. So but repeatedly every day we do the same task. So instead you imagine all the content of your interest which are published in different website come to you in one single place. So it will be very easy for you to see all the required information in one place instead of going to 10 different websites for 10 different types of information. So this RSS feeds help us in that case, where we can access the real-time information using RSS feed. All the information comes to you instead of you going to different websites. So how this can be done? Let's see how this can be done. There are different methods to create RSS alerts. For example, we need a piece of software called RSS Reader, and this RSS reader can be installed in a machine, or it can be installed in a content management system. As I said previously, the Drupal, WordPress, or any other content management system has a module called RSS aggregator. So when you install this RSS aggregator in your Drupal module, so you will be able to enable the RSS feeds. So once when you go to any website, when you go to any website, that website has this orange icon which is in the middle of my presentation. You have seen that, many of us would have seen in Times of India or Rediff or our nature journal or science journal or any journal. I think most of the journals provide this RSS feed. So one time what we'll have to do is we'll have to copy that feed and paste it into our Drupal or our RSS feed readers. Once you paste that RSS feed, it automatically checks periodically to that website whether a new content is published. If a new content is published, it automatically brings that content into your system or Drupal content management system where our users can see it. So, for example, if our library subscribe to Nature Journal and Science Journal, and if our user want to see what is newly published in Nature, he need not go to Nature website. He can come to our own content management system or our own web portal. When he clicks Nature, he will be able to see anything which is newly updated in Nature site comes to your site. So so we can save the time of our user. Instead of he visiting different websites, some 5 to 10 journal sites, he can come to one place where he can access all the information. So this is what table of content service of RSS. And for example, I can show you here. There is a table of content RSS feed for Science Journal, and you can access it. And even YouTube channels, if we are subscribing to different YouTube channels, that channels or YouTube channel also provides RSS feed. So you copy that RSS feed and put it in your content management system again, and hereafter, whenever a new video is published in your YouTube channel, that gets visible in your content management system. And saved search alerts also is possible, like uh, those science students or science graduates or postgraduates or researchers rely more information from PubMed. It's one of the biggest medical and chemical database around the world. So this also, whenever a research topic, when a user's research topic is there, he used to go to PubMed and search for his research topic. So he will get hundreds of results. And after 10 days or so, he will again go to the same PubMed, again do a search and see any new information is updated. So he repeatedly goes to a PubMed site and enters the same keywords to retrieve whether to see any new update has happened in his area of interest. So in such case, that researcher can create an RSS feed for their own research topic in PubMed, and that feed can be updated into your Drupal content management system or your own feed reader, so that the user hereafter need not go to PubMed site to search for the same set of keywords. He will automatically get an alert from that RSS feed from PubMed database to his system. So these are all alerts are highly automated, where this RSS feed periodically checks any new update has happened in that particular site and brings that data into your system. So if you are interested, you can see from your own system itself. You need not go out of your system. And like news also, if somebody is interested in cricket and he want to see ball to ball scores, that also is possible using news alert service. Almost all news sites like Times of India, Rediff or Hindu, all these news sites provide RSS feed, and we can subscribe to this RSS feed to access the information from your own content management system itself. And library catalog, even the Koha software which I talked about earlier, has a feature of searching and saving the RSS feed, and that feed can be copied and put it in an aggregator, so that any new book with that particular topic is available in the library will get alerted to you. And Google Alerts. So we all know that Google provides alerts when you search for some information. If that is not available, but it may appear the next day, we can put those keywords in Google Alert, and that Google Alert can be converted as RSS feed. Again, that feed can be stored in your aggregator. So next day onwards, you will get the Google Alert through your email as well as through your RSS feed. So the data from various set of different set of resources and sites comes together to your own place, where you need not go to different sites. You can access all the information sitting just viewing in one place. Even patent information also available through RSS feed, and conferences alerts are also possible. And this is all about my RSS feed alerts. I could have given you a demo if this is not a recorded seminar, because it takes a lot of time, and within an hour's time it's not possible for me to show how we can bring all the RSS feed and information into one aggregator. So you can try by yourself. This is very easy to access, and it's very simple to implement in a library environment. And also nowadays, Amazon is providing lot of books using Kindle Unlimited service, and their subscription charges are very simple. It costs only just 2000 rupees per year, and we will have access to lakhs of books. And we can buy 5 or 10 Kindle devices in our library. We can issue it like physical book issuing, so that our users will get access to hundreds of books which were not available in the library. And it doesn't cost much, because we are going to pay just 2000 rupees a year for accessing hundreds of books, lakhs of books actually. So this is an interesting initiative. Many libraries have started doing this. So we can do such kind of technology enabled services which will create a very better impression about the library and informed information, where many users will come to the library and gain more knowledge out of it. To conclude this talk, adoption of new technologies helps the libraries to serve its user, and embracing the technology will help in delivering the content very efficiently. And one should not forget, content is the king and not the container, and the technology is the container. Always content and the original resource is more important than the technology which brings you. So earlier, content was delivered by palm leaves some thousands of years back, and the content was delivered as printed books some 200, 300 years ago. And the last 20, 30 years, we are bringing information or content through online. So the container will change in due course of time, but the content will not change. Content is the most important for uh, gaining knowledge. So we should not forget that we should not implement lot of technology and lose what is our aim. So it's always sensible enough to adopt the right technology for our library users to gain more knowledge out of it. Thank you, one and all, for listening to this talk for the past around an hour time. Thank you very much.